Self-awareness is the number one leadership skill. It builds everything else. Well, it's the bottom and it builds up everything else. I'm Jen Whitmer, and I help teams and leaders solve conflict and personality clashes. So I'm doing a series on self-awareness and leadership. And my favorite self-awareness tool is the Enneagram. And the Enneagram is a personality framework that shows us the deep motivations of who we are. And today I am so excited to have one of my friends, mentors, like mic drop wisdom hype men in my life. He's so fantastic. It's Kevin B Jennings, and he has worked with some really big names, and he is a business strategist and a personal branding specialist, and kind of a amazing jack of all trades as well. And I'm really thrilled to have him on to talk about his self-awareness in his leadership. So if you are here live, let me know that you're here live. If you're watching the replay, tell me you're watching the replay while I bring on Kevin.
Hey, hey.
Good morning. I'm so glad you're here.
It's a pleasure. Thank you so much for letting me come, Jen.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So, Kevin, tell the people a little bit about who you are before I launch into my intense questioning.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm a business coach and personal brand strategist. I have the privilege of supporting ambitious creatives and business leaders to really help them get unstuck by helping them get the capacity, credibility, sometimes the clarity, and even courage that they need to turn their ideas into income and impact. Now, Mike, I'm also CEO of a company. We do branding and marketing services for a lot of influencers and entrepreneurs that are trying to leverage their personal brand to grow their business. And so I get to sit in many cases as kind of the right hand man to a lot of different people as they're trying to build their business. And obviously, I love doing that work because it obviously requires a lot of helping other people gain some self-awareness, right? As far as how they show up in the world to other people, but also me doing that for myself in the process, which is really great.
Yes. So Kevin is super humble, which is a trait of his Enneagram type, which is Enneagram Two, because Kevin's not going to name drop, but I will. He's worked with Oprah, Tony Robbins, among other people. So when he says he knows this back end world, he really, really does. And one of the things I've heard Kevin say a lot is that they have the same problems that we do. They're struggling with the same things. And so sometimes when we name drop, we think, oh, we get but really they're struggling with the same problems you are in your corporate space as an entrepreneur, to lead well and try to understand who they are and how do they want to project themselves to the world. And they're all struggling with the same thing. So Kevin, as an Enneagram 2, I would love you to tell me a little bit about how that self-awareness has helped you tap into your superpower.
Yeah, for sure. I would say that knowing that I'm a helper has really, and a two on the Enneagram has really changed how I see service. And recognizing that one of my superpowers is the ability to anticipate needs and really get out ahead of challenges that are forthcoming. But also, I naturally see people's feelings as variables that affect our progress.
Ooh,
Right.
Say that again. Say that again.
Yeah. I naturally see other people's feelings as variables that can affect our progress. So when we're saying, oh, let's look at the market and what the market wants, and let's look at our bottom line, I'd say, well, that's fantastic. We might check all those boxes strategically, but we have to say, can our team handle this change right now? Can that individual that's really critical to our success, you can see that he or she is closing up. We have to consider that as a real variable of progress, because we can say all the conditions are right, but if our team's not right, if our contractors aren't right, we have to gauge the realities of people's feelings as facts enough for us to say, how do we actually lead it through the people who have to do the work, not just is the strategy great on paper.
Oh my gosh. I want to put that last 45 seconds in front of every leader in every team in every company, because I love the way our emotions are variables, and they are important pieces of data and facts. And it's not that they don't exist or we shouldn't pay attention to them. It's actually how do we work through them to get what we want. And if we're not willing, the strategy is going to fall apart. So that's just
Exactly.
so good. And I love that as an organization. One of my favorite things I've heard you talk about is a little bit how you tap into your natural, it's not a shortcoming, but how you use that superpower to game yourself. Like, talk a little bit about that as your own personal leadership.
Yeah, as a strategist, I really feel like my real work as a strategist is to leverage limitations,
Mm,
right? I mean, every great person, I mean, we look at some of the most recent studies and even also even long-term studies when it comes to productivity, you need constraints. So we might as well say, what is the constraint within myself that I can actually leverage to get things done? So for me, if I'm in an unhealthy state, I can become a people pleaser. I'm a recovering people pleaser. And so with that being said, I do not like letting people down. Now, most times that can be used, if I'm not careful, for someone else to manipulate me or for me to pursue someone's approval in a way that might be unhealthy. But in a healthy state, in a strategic state, I can say, you know what, I want to get this goal done. It matters to me. The best way I can do to make sure I follow through is, can I connect someone else being affected by me not following through?
mm.
If I can, and so for me, that means right now with what you're doing with this community and you're growing on LinkedIn, it's, hey, if I don't show up, someone isn't getting served. So when I can actually connect it to, oh, I know that one person who watches every week, who actually does pay attention. Once I have that person on the other end, it locks me in a way that gets me out of my head, but also more importantly, makes me show up. So I
Yeah.
intentionally do that. I also know that for me, I need people to be involved in a way that working in isolation for me is going to drain me over time. If I
Yeah.
can have a few people be a collaborator in the process and I'm a part of a team, it's another way to make sure I can show up. So it's really about making sure I'm finding, hey, what are those hinges that make me follow through and how can I orchestrate those conditions? And for me, that's always typically going to involve people being involved to make sure I follow through.
I love, and one of the things that's so brilliant about what you just said is the awareness to know when this is in a healthy state and when I'm actually aware enough to use it. Like
Mm-hmm.
that's different when it's like this compulsion of, oh my gosh, I have to do this because if I don't, then people are going to reject me. Like that
That's right.
fear can show up and then cause us to make all kinds of decisions that aren't helpful to anybody.
That's
But
right.
when you say, hey, I'm aware of that, I know that if I get other people involved, that's going to help me get to my goal because first you had to tap into yourself, then go to the other people. That's a really healthy way to understand who you are and how you can support your own leadership growth. I adore that. And I just think there are so many things we can't change about us. And so when we find the things we can change, going for that in a way that is really healthy, that serves us and others, it's just really powerful because we're recognizing our humanity in many ways, not just like, as you said, here's what it looks like on paper. This is our humanity. This is who I am and how I can use my unique space to make a difference. And I think that's something I've learned from you about branding. It's like lots of people are Enneagram coaches, lots of people are leadership speakers, but what do I bring that's different? And I think that comes from you knowing yourself so well and how you can help other people. So I'd love for you to tell us a little bit about how do you notice when your Enneagram 2 self is tripping you up? Like when you're like, oh, wait, this is my signal that says I'm headed down a path that isn't super great for me. Like, how do you do that? And how do your self awareness play in?
Yeah. Well, I think the first thing is, um, when I find myself more focused on the perception of what I'm saying than the actual message that I'm communicating.
Mm,
And that could be something as simple as I'm talking to a team member and I want to help him or her improve in some area, bring up some challenge I want us to work through. But if I'm more focused on their reaction than the actual correction of the behavior of it, and I'm more interested in how they're going to feel about me, like And that's when I know, okay, something's going on. I need to be more,
Mm.
I might need to slow down and reschedule the call and say, hey, you know what? We're not going to have this call today. Let's move it, right? Because I almost need to separate myself a bit more from that situation. Another thing, I'll be very transparent and say I'm a subscriber to the it's a hell yeah or it's no type of, I mean, and I think that when I see myself violating that, it is almost always an indicator like, oh, it's a good idea. I know I'm not saying we're not questioning the quality of an idea. This is you saying, hey, I'm not energized by this, but I'm doing it anyway. Why? Why am I saying yes to additional requests or commitments that I don't really want to do? And so for
Mm.
me, it's another indicator because it starts saying, hey, yeah, you did it at the time, but what was the reason? What was the reason? What was the reason? I think the last thing is because I'm a helper and because of my two, I really want to help. Like I sincerely want the person to be helped, which means nothing deflates me more than doing something I don't think will work. It's like, hey, will you
Oh.
just like it's like it is deflating. I'm like, why are we doing this? Because the real solution is there for us, and we are pursuing that we already know is not going to help us achieve the goal. Why are we
Mm-hmm.
doing this? And it's typically someone, I mean, in my line of work, someone's vanity is typically in the way. Someone's ego's in the way. And when
I
I'm
think that's
going
in
along,
everyone's line of work. I mean, I think yours is just amplified, but I really think in everybody's line of work, it's when that gets in the way. We all have that.
right? And so when you feel yourself essentially not fighting for the real solution, you're saying to yourself, what are we doing? Why are we all going along with this without presenting the proper conflict and having the hard conversations that Jen
Mm-hmm.
is willing to help us have? What's going on? And it's like, well, I don't want to be the person who is seen as adversarial, and I don't want to lose favor with someone. So it's really when I stop doing the work that matters that I can typically feel it the most. And the other thing, if I'm journaling, if I'm feeling any kind of anxiety, when there's on a low level, low grade anxiety in life, there's that's going to be another thing that's going to start eventually showing up in my work. No matter
Mm-hmm.
what the cause of it is, if I'm not careful, I'll start looking for ways to get other needs met at work that don't even met at work in that way.
Yeah. I I want to just repeat everything you just said. Like I don't have much to add because so much of those 3 points, the just that you're self-aware enough to know that when your own feelings about yourself that might be
Mhm.
influenced by somebody else get in the way of you actually doing your job and serving them well, like that is an important piece for all of us. I think it shows up differently for different Enneagram numbers, but for twos in particular, that idea of what if they reject me because I say or do this thing that will actually help them? I think that's the rock and the hard place for the two. And I love how you shift that of like, wait, I need to not be in that place. So that might mean I have to do some work on my own. I might need to change the call. And those are all actually really good conflict strategies because if you just go into that, it's going to make it worse. And I really I am a little bit thrown over the last couple days because an article came out about a person that I have worked with in the past. And it's like a big deal. And it was so much of, oh my gosh, I knew this at the time. And I was trying to convince myself that wasn't true because I wasn't
Wow.
willing to have the hard conversation. I wasn't, because what if I'm that person? What if, like all those things that you name that go through our heads. And it would have been so much better
Mm.
to like, put on my big girl panties and say the things that were
Mhm.
hard.
Mhm. Mhm.
and
Mhm.
but that's a challenge for everybody. And I think that the way you have described that, the way you process through that is so helpful to us to hear. Because I think so much sometimes in corporate spaces in particular, it's like, well, what's the strategy? What's the bottom line? How do we, and oh yeah, people.
Mhm.
and but people are the ones who do the work. And so I really just appreciate how you are transparent and how that works for you in all of these spaces where there are big names, where it does feel like the stakes are very high. Um, and that's really powerful. It's just really
Wow.
powerful.
Well, I appreciate
So
that.
go ahead.
Yeah, if there was one other thing I want to throw in there, I think it's just the longer I've been doing this, the more I've been really trying to use. First of all, I mean, I love the Enneagram, and I think that's a powerful tool for me to also make sure that I'm not triggering other people,
Mm-hmm.
right? And so once I can detect an inkling of what I think their number is, I am trying to not manipulate them, which could be what I do in my when I'm not healthy. I'm manipulating people,
Again,
right?
self-aware.
Yeah, right. But if I'm healthy, I'm saying to myself, Kevin, this person can be triggered in a way that can make them want to do something, right? So I'm working with a 6 on my team, then the instability that can come with me being a visionary, throwing all these ideas out, is actually putting her in a place where she's like, hey, I'm struggling right now. This feels unsafe to me. I don't know where we're headed. So I might have to think about how I communicate, how I reestablish, hey, this is actually more of the same. We're building on the same ideas we had before. We're just improving them. We want to iterate. I want to communicate a different story. With my clients, though, there's a reality that I'm saying to myself, hey, if they're an 8 on the Enneagram, which a lot of my clients are 8s or 3s for some, who people want to be out front. Lots of 8s, lots of 3s. A lot of 7 wings in there as well. But with all that being said, I want to say to myself, hey, feelings of powerlessness can make my clients start to self-sabotage.
Mm-hmm.
I've got to, it's not about ego stroking. This is about helping them understand that we are actually still operating from a place of them maintaining their agency.
Yeah.
Right. And so I think that's a big part of so things like that I think are about how I also can think about those things, but it all starts with the vision for me, right? What is the vision? What is the vision for the goal, for the project, for the book, for whatever? So I can keep anchoring everybody in, here's what we're trying to achieve. Here's what we're trying to achieve. Focusing on the objective and not the person helps people sometimes stop thinking about it being about them. No, it's our decisions are anchored in what we're trying to accomplish, not in anyone's faults or shortcomings.
Oh, see, I told y'all mic drop moments from Kevin B Jennings. Like, I just exactly. And it makes me think I have a consulting client, and one of my teammates in this consulting project is an Enneagram 6.
Mm.
And as you said, that like knowing what other people are experiencing and that instability, or because I can come up with 1,000 ideas and suddenly other people think they're responsible for all of them.
That's
I'm like,
right.
oh, no,
That's
no,
right.
this is just things on a wall. Like, I'm not saying do, I'm saying here are the options. And I have
Yes.
had to learn to actually say those words out loud. Like, I'm not
Yes.
expecting you to do any of these things. We are ideating, we are coming up with ideas, and then we'll decide which ones, and then we will say, go and do. But you are not yet responsible. And I've had to like learn, and it feels like, well, don't they know? No, they don't. They don't know. And we cannot expect that other people think, see, believe, act, or interpret information the way we do. And so that's what I love
Absolutely.
about what you said, like that idea of like, ooh, I could create something in somebody else if I'm not aware. So that's another part of self-awareness, not to get in all of the Johari window, but understanding your impact on others. You have to understand yourself first, then your impact on others. So, Kevin, I could, of course, talk to you the entire day, which I always want to do. So I'll just box you later. So I am so grateful for you for coming on. And I'm going to let Kevin tell you where to find him in just a moment. I have a special workshop coming up in 2 weeks called Why Do Some People Make Me Lose My Ish, with a little poop emoji, because we all know there are people who do that for us. So if you would like to come to that, the description is in the comments wherever you're watching. Some depends on where you are. It's in the description of the post, and I would love to see you there because it will really help you gain the self-awareness that you need to understand yourself first, because I'm going to give you 3 strategies to figure out what activates you and how to overcome that. Kevin, you are a delight as always. Tell the people where to find you and follow you so they can continue to get your goodness.
Absolutely. So you can connect with me over at kevinbjennings.com. And that's a great way just to kind of get a general feel. Then you have a little button. You can email me if you need to. You also can just text me if you like. My number is 615-455 3399. That's 615-455-3399. So if you ever want to talk about personal branding, or what it's like to leverage your influence online to grow your business, I would be more than happy to talk to you about some of the reality of what that means and how it all goes. But I just want to encourage you to really lean into what Jen's trying to do here. I think there's something really powerful. I mean, about me, we all know this about self-awareness, but if you're in any way considering a personal brand, self-awareness is the only way to make sure that your personal brand doesn't become a prison. And it's to make sure that you're not building a facade for yourself online that as you grow you're required to maintain, when you could actually show us your authentic self. But we can't be authentic if we don't know who we are. And so I would just encourage you to lean in on that, because that work's going to serve you no matter what, especially if you have any aspirations to leverage your actual ideas, expertise, or personality online to grow your business. And so with that being said, I just wish you all have a great day, and thank you again, Jen, for inviting me on today.
Oh, Kevin, I would have you every week. I always love talking to you. Say your cell one more time, because I want to make sure that I post it correctly.
Absolutely. 615-455-3399. You are welcome to text me and just say, hey, Kevin, met you through Jen on LinkedIn. And then we can just start to have a conversation just to rattle things back. I might fire back with voice memos or Loom videos. That's all right with you. But with that being said, yeah, I just want to make sure I'm accessible to Jen's community, because if you're a friend of Jen, you're a friend of mine.
Yeah. Oh, Kevin, you are dear and wise and so generous, and I appreciate you so much. All right, everybody, have a great Thursday. Text Kevin, find out more. Come to the workshop about learning how to control your personality activators. And I will not see you next week because it's Thanksgiving here in the US. So there'll still be something for you to be there, but I'm not going to be live on Turkey Day. But I will see you around. Thanks, everybody. Have a great day. Bye.